Hello, I'm Michael Mayo, and I'm the Pacific Green nominee for U.S. Congress from the 3rd District, the 3rd Congressional District of Oregon. And I want you to consider voting for me. I want to talk to you today about why you should consider voting for me, even though Earl Blumenauer, my opponent, is a liberal Democrat and is really a national expert on alternative transportation means. I can't compare with Earl Blumenauer's work in that regard, and I'll be honest with you, throughout this ad I'm going to be honest with you, but to begin with, if the most important issue in this election is how to put in place alternative transportation systems, you really ought to vote for Earl Blumenauer, because I'm not going to help you much in that regard. Well, then why should you vote for me if Earl Blumenauer is so much better already? Well, the biggest issue in this campaign, in my opinion, is war. Is a war that has been going on now for some time, and it's a continuation of other wars we've been engaged in for some time before that. I am myself a math teacher at Benson Polytechnic High School here in Portland, and I'm moved to enter this campaign because the Democratic Party hasn't gotten us out of the war. It also hasn't gotten us out of those previous wars, the wars that began in the early part of the last century and have continued intermittently. Sometimes the Republicans begin the war, sometimes the Democrats begin the war, but the Democrats aren't engaged in doing what they say they're doing. And I'm asking you to vote for a Pacific Green candidate, me, because I guarantee you not only that the war is not going to get a vote from me for funding in any manner whatsoever, but also I'm going to be a voice for the reorientation of this country to a sustainable economy and to care for its entire human community. What the heck is that about? Why do we have to reorient things? Well, I want you to think back now, because we can best make a future if we have a pretty good idea of our past. I want you to think back and consider that basic, fundamental problem that I'm going to talk about the rest of this ad, and see whether it isn't the basic reason why you would vote Democrat in the first place. You would say, and you're trained to say it, you would say, well, they're not perfect, they're not exactly what I want, I'm a progressive, I want to make things better, but I'm going to vote for them, warts and all, because I think that it's okay to do this and allow these guys to take power, because I'm going to get a better good over here. So, for a concrete example here, the Democrats started the war in Vietnam, didn't they? The great legendary Jack Kennedy, the not so legendary Lyndon Baines Johnson. They went into Vietnam in a big way, and they didn't get out. And what was our position as people who are voting Democrats? Well, we said, well, gee, shucks, I gotta vote for, let's see, Hubert Horatio Humphrey. I gotta vote for Hubert Horatio Humphrey, because although they went into Vietnam, they're gonna help with the civil rights, and that's what I want to do. I want to do one thing over here that's horrific and cruel in order to get a greater good over there. And I want to ask you to stop doing that, you voters. I want you to stop thinking that the ends justify the means. When we tag the communists with it, we say, ain't that awful that they went ahead and they put in a Stalinist dictatorship and they said quite openly, the ends justify the means, we're going to make a better world. We're going to make a better world with the purges. We're going to make a better world with a communist party. Well, I want you to stop for a moment and say, that's what's happening now. That's what's happening now because you vote Democratic. You're going to vote for the Democratic Party because the ends justify the means. And the means now are a war. The means are tossing out habeas corpus. The Democratic Party has had control of Congress, and we still have legislation stripping us of habeas corpus. We still have Guantanamo. We still have waterboarding. You are voting for a Democrat because you've been told that the ends justify the means. I'm here as a Green Party member. I'm here as a part of an international movement which has political power in other countries and is altogether aiming at a sustainable way of life, which does not engage in war, which does not engage in allowing corporations to rape the planet, and which is starting to offer you the chance to vote what you want. And that is where you have to come in as a voter. You have to register and support a party you believe in. You have to stop thinking that you've got to go and do evil in order to get some greater good accomplished, because that isn't how it works. That doesn't ever happen. You get hypocrisy at the basis of our society. And you have to start standing tall for what you think is the truth and what you think is right. And when you do that and you vote, in the first instance for me, because I'm telling you there isn't going to be any voting for a war funding. We could go into the details, but the fact is that Blumenauer has voted for the war. I don't want to get into the details in this short message, but I could back it up with documentation. He has voted for war funding. And he has voted against the defense of, he has voted against the marriage equality for gays. Why is that? Well, again, you have this situation keeps going on and on. You have to triangulate. You have to vote for Clinton, who's going to crush the support we had for poor people, because, well, that's going to get him elected, and again, he's going to come back to power, and you want the Democrats in power or else. Well, that's a fear ticket. That's an argument from fear. You've got to do some bad thing in order to get that so-called greater good, and it doesn't work. I can lay out for you a bunch of other things. I want to talk a little bit more about the situation you're in and how it is. I'm going to talk now a little bit more about what has been the bad results of this swindle. The means are justified by the ends that you're going to get in the end. Well, can we look at it in different aspects? One of them is, we, the United States, are premier political and economic power. Okay. Well, what about those millions of black and brown people? What about them? Are we going to let them have what we've got? Won't it be that our whole position will crumble? And so, dear voters of Multnomah County, what has happened is we have voted for people who support dictatorships around the world and put in place hundreds and hundreds of unneeded American military bases because we are afraid of losing that political and economic supremacy to which we have become accustomed. And I want to tell you that the way to have peace around the world is to stop responding to that argument from fear. You're going to have to start voting your heart and say we want peace, and I'm going to vote for peace, and I'm going to do those things that promote peace, and not say that we need more armies, more bombs, and more missiles. There's another way we look at it. We say, gee, if we don't help those corporations that make obscene profits by going around and raping the planet, if we don't help those corporations continue their spendthrift and ecologically destructive ways, if we stop helping those large groups of greedheads run around and trampling the wealth of this world, we won't have a job. Oh, heavens. We've got to drill oil, we've got to mine coal, we've got to have nuclear power plants, all this, or we won't have a job. And I want to ask you to conquer your fears. I want you to realize that's a bait and switch. There's plenty of innovation in our community. We have lots of ways of turning around our society so that we have sustainable economic activities. That's what the Green Party is affording. We have wind power possibilities. We have tidal power possibilities. There's lots of things we can do. I cannot promise I cannot guarantee you you're going to keep eating more bananas than you eat apples. Because you can't bring things all the way from the tropics and eat them more than you eat those things that grow out in your backyard. You're going to have to change. It's not going to be it's not going to be the same as having the consumer life you're used to. But, ladies and gentlemen of my community, please realize all of the good that comes from that, all of the benefits that come from your no longer responding in a fearful way, responding in a way that has faith in the future. That's what I ask you to vote for when you vote for Mayo. A vote for Mayo is a vote for peace. Now, in the conclusion of this pitch to you on why you ought to vote for me, I want to emphasize that I'm not really engaged. I don't think the entire Green Party is engaged in just being a scold. We really like the joy of community, the joy of solidarity, and I'd like to convey that to you musically. My life rolls on in endless song above earth's lamentation. I hear the real, though far off hymn that hails the new creation. Above the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble sick with fear and hear their death knell ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? In prison cell and dungeon vile, our thoughts with them are winging. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing?